Welcome back everybody. Today we're doing a 100 hour on a 500 HS model. It's going to be good. Make sure you stick around and I'm going to show you guys some cool stuff. So first thing to start off with is this air filter. That's the first thing we're assigned and tasked with. So this air filter is from Air Middles and it's broken up into two pieces. You have this kind of like crescent shape filter, and then you have the actual big filter in the back. So it's just held on with clips, and they get really dirty. These are really old, so we're gonna go ahead and clean those.
Put that on the shelf because we're getting some new ones that Carrie ordered.
Yep. So we're expecting these to like fail a little bit, so we're gonna go ahead and get new ones. These back ones, they have like these spiral clamps, so you just undo the spiral, unclip it, and then that's the same way for the other side. Here you'll hear my coworker complain about Cessna just a little bit, but here's me taking out that back filter. You can see it's really old and really dirty, so we're going to go ahead and get a new one.
Let's remove that.
So now we're going to take a look at the air inlet chamber. This is where all the air goes into the engine after it passes the filter. You can see this area needs to be kept really clean. You can also see other electrical wires, an oil pressure line, coax cables. You can see the rod for the tail rotor pedal in that boot right there, and that center tube is the drive shaft, but now this is the stator and the first stage of the turbine for the intake. And I'm just looking at that, making sure everything's clean, make sure nothing is chipped in there, because that would be catastrophic. So we have to make sure everything looks good in there. So here I'm just looking at the mash drain holes, making sure they are not clogged up with any dirt or debris. And I'm also just giving a quick overview and look of everything in that area, making sure none of the fiberglass is broken. So now we're going to the tail rotor bell crank. This is the bell crank that controls your tail rotor blades. One of the many bell cranks there. But we have to inspect this, make sure this is secure and not damaged. So I'm just taking a quick peek up in there. I'm also using a mirror when I put the camera down to inspect that general area. But also this inspection hole just gives you a good area of just that upper fuselage on the inside, and we're just making sure the ribs look okay, make sure there's no corrosion in there. I know it can be hard to see with only going in one way, but just looking at everything, the drive shaft there, make sure there's cotter keys, making sure nothing is bent, snapped. And then here, I'm making to make sure light isn't able to enter through the mounting bolts from the outside, because if there is, that means there's separation at that point, and we can't do that. So I'm just going around with my flashlight just to make sure there's no light coming in there at the tail boom and the fuselage. So this is part of the inspection that's really easy, like literally your mom can do it. But main thing here you're looking at is those bolts on the vertical and horizontal, and even that bottom stabilizer. But making sure there's no cracks there in the airframe or in the bolts themselves, or even to the mounting plates that they're attached to. Also make sure there's no fractures to the leading edges or to the sidewalls, and also making sure the elastomeric there in that crossbar is still holding up.
Hey, yo, answer that phone.
Yo, who goes there?
Hello, this is person speaking.
So this is where we look at the strut and the skid, make sure there's no cracks anywhere. I've seen some cracks happen before and you got to replace the entire thing. So these are the older model landing gear because of the 4 bolts on each side, and we're just looking for no cracks or pitting or corrosion, and it looks good to me. We gotta make sure we look at that dampener also, and I forgot the name, but that beam that goes diagonally there on your screen, making sure that's held up and secured in place. Make sure nothing's broken in that area. Also, make sure all the rivets are still intact. Everything looks good. Now the next thing is to make sure the eye bolt on that piston is straight and not rubbing on the airframe. It's gonna gouge the attachment point, and you don't want that. It's an extra stress riser. So looks good to me. So next thing I'm looking at is the anti-ice valve up there, where I'm moving the levers and the cabin heat valve, making sure that that is smooth and operational and everything checks out and there's no binding. You can see for the cabin heat there, it moves that mechanism and it uses bleed air from the engine to heat the cabin area. There's also defrost there too. I have to make sure all the tubes line up and are secured for, you know, that heating process. Of course, part of the 100 hours, you have to look at small things, like even like seat belts, making sure they're secured and attached and not fraying, because that's an important part also. So we check the cabin, or the cabin side, pilot side, and then also the co-pilot seat. And now this is like the meat and potatoes of the main inspection. This isn't the actual inspection that I'm doing on camera, it's just a little overview, because I put the camera down to inspect everything thoroughly and not be distracted. But right now I'm moving the lateral controls, looking at the belt cranks, all the push rods, making sure everything is okay. I'm lifting the collective stick up and down. You can see the bungee expanding and contracting, making the stick feel very heavy. And then after that I head up top and look at the rotor system.
Nice one. Yeah, just drop it there.
That's where I'm going to drop it. Did you know that?
No, you weren't gonna drop it there.
I didn't say I was. I'm just saying don't.
Yeah, you didn't say anything. But I just heard you dropping stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh.
That's the Air Force. Because she's getting deported.
Oh, transported? Okay. Another station of living.
So we really want to inspect everything thoroughly here. Make sure all the PCLs aren't loose in any way. Looking at the boot, make sure there's no rust or corrosion or any grease leakage anywhere.
Yeah.
Really?
Look at the blade flapping.
When?
Look at the droop stop ring. You look at everything. Look at the retention straps in the blade hub. Look at the swash plate. Look at a rotating swash plate. Next here is the drive shaft. So there's the coupling there at the base of the red at the bottom of your screen. That coupling links to the Chromatic drive shaft, which leads to another coupling which drives the oil cooler blower, and connected to that is the main gearbox which spins the rotor. And I find it kind of crazy that you can spin the drive shaft by hand and it'll rotate the entire system. Turn it one way, it decouples, which allows the helicopter to spin the blades by themselves, enter an auto rotation, and then if you go the other way, it spins the engine. I'm just looking up there in the drive shaft, making sure, or not the drive shaft, the gearbox, making sure all the oil pressure sensors and switches are working correctly and the wire looks okay. And they do. So that's just a quick little overview of that drive shaft inspection.